Hi, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from YourBlackWorld.com. This week you saw that Mitt Romney made the took the bold step of appearing in the lion's den in the belly of the beast at the NAACP convention. And you saw that there were some folks that were receptive to his speech, but there were quite a few who were not receptive, and actually some who booed Romney during the speech. And, so to really understand some of this and to really try to understand what Mitt Romney had to gain by appearing in front of the African-American community, I brought in political expert Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Leon is a political science professor at Howard University. He's also, in my opinion, one of the most brilliant black scholars in the country. How you doing today, Dr. Leon?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you. And as always, thank you for the compliment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And people should also know that Dr. Leon is the host of Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon. Comes on Sirius XM, The Power, channel 128, Saturdays from 11 to 2. Did I get that right, Dr. Leon?
Saturdays from 11 to 2.
All right. So, Dr. Leon, when you saw that Mitt Romney was speaking before the NAACP, a lot of people asked, does he even benefit from this? What's the strategy behind his appearance? What was he really seeking by even trying to go to the place that President Obama himself didn't even take the time to appear?
Well, I think everything as it relates to Mitt Romney, or just about everything as it relates to Mitt Romney, has to be viewed through the prism of he's trying to attract those ultra conservatives and social conservatives that don't like him. So my next piece that will hopefully come out today will be entitled Mitt Romney at the NAACP. He played to his base, not to his audience. So I think he went to the NAACP and said the things he said in the manner in which he said them, in order then to be able to turn to his base and say, you see, I'm not as liberal as you think I am. You see, I'm right here with you. This whole reference at the NAACP to healthcare reform as Obamacare, I think, was that red flag in front of the bull to say to his conservative friends, I am consistent in my message. My message is your message. You need to come out and vote.
Interesting. So you're saying that, and Yvette Carnell at culturecritic.com made this very same point. She was saying that, it looks like Romney got booed on purpose, that he deliberately did something that was just strategically stupid so that he could go back to his conservative base and say, look, the Negroes don't like me, so that's why you should like me more. So you're saying that this was all part of a game?
I believe that it was a strategy. And when you listen to the news analysis, what is front page or top story on the news? Romney got booed at the NAACP. Now, Kenneth Blackwell, let's take a step back. Someone who you and I both know, Chris Metzler, black conservative, right? He posts something on Facebook, and I'm paraphrasing. I'm not quoting. I'm paraphrasing. NAACP boos Romney. How uncivilized, or something like that. Well, I responded back to Chris, come on, man, be serious. He went there and used the term Obamacare. Black people did what black people are supposed to do. They are supposed to reject that marketing phrase, because that's all it is. Now, if Romney had said, I'm going to overturn the access to health care legislation, well, now he's being above the fray. Now he's being presidential, right? Because he's using the Affordable Care Act. I'm sorry. If he had gone in his speech and said, I'm going to overturn the Affordable Care Act, he still would have gotten booed. But at least then he's not using the invective that is definitely going to generate the response, right? Mm-hmm. But he says in that audience, he makes it personal by calling it Obamacare. That's an intentional personalization constructed by the Republicans in order to get a particular reaction from their constituency. So he goes into the NAACP and uses that personal presidential attack against a president who that group voted for 95%. That was calculated. That was calculated.
And that's very disappointing, because everything you're saying makes perfect sense. Yeah. It's very disappointing that they would do that because there are black conservatives who were actually happy to see the Republican Party reach out to the African American community because there are quite a few African Americans who are highly conservative, and they agree with the Republicans on quite a few issues, especially things like gay marriage and all this other stuff. So, this sort of idea that, and I've heard some conservatives say this, they have an idea that, maybe this can plant seeds for the long term that one day you could see an exodus from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party, from some segment of the African American community. But it seems like this is all just a game that black folks were being used for entertainment. And what's interesting to me about this also, Dr. Leon, is that I felt the same game was being played by President Obama himself back in 2008 when he would come and give these speeches to black people that were very condescending, where we would sort of be, have, his finger wagged at us, telling us what's wrong with us. And then you have these conservatives, watching this and saying, oh, good, he's putting the Negroes in their place. And so he must be one of us. I mean, so this seems like it's part of a trend for both the Democrats and the Republicans to kind of use black people not as a legitimate constituency, but as sort of like political theater or as tools for their own political motivation. Am I correct here?
Oh, I think you're right on track. In fact, one of the things I kind of interrupted myself it was when I mentioned Ken Blackwell. Ken Blackwell, former Secretary of State of Ohio, black Republican, very, very conservative. He even said yesterday when asked about Romney's choice of words, he kind of chuckled and said, well, I know I wouldn't, something to the effect of, well, that probably wasn't the best choice of words, referring to Obamacare in front of that audience. Even Ken Blackwell understood that. So if Ken Blackwell could understand it, I don't understand why Chris Metzler could miss that obvious point.
Now, Chris is our boy, though. We love Chris. So we got to respect
absolutely. But on this one, when my boys are wrong, I tell them they're wrong. And on this one, Chris is wrong. But to your other point, this is not. There are black Republicans who are hoping that the African American community will migrate back over to the Republican Party. But what's missing from that, and we've talked about this before, is it's not the politics of personality, it's the politics of policy. And until Republicans start to initiate substantive policy initiatives that are attractive to the black community, it's going to be what it's always been. And I mean, that's the piece of this that continually gets lost in the analysis is yesterday when Mitt Romney went to the NAACP, he offered nothing new. This would have been a perfect time for him to announce an urban employment initiative, an urban education initiative. This would have been the perfect time for him to list 2 or 3 cutting-edge substantive policies that would have made the NAACP, the people in the room, stand up and applaud. But all he did was tell them what they already knew. He stated the obvious, and he talked about charter schools and cutting and attacking unions. Well, unions are what contributed to making the black middle class. So, and So he offered nothing new to us, but reiterated to his base, I'm going to cut Obamacare. So this was nothing but a dog and pony show.
Wow.
And he was the dog and the pony.
Wow. Well, it sounds like, he might have been the dog and the pony, but we were the jackass that was being used in the dog and pony show.
And that's unfortunate on a number of levels. One is President Obama should have showed up and spoken. And he missed an incredible opportunity, and here's why. I think his advisors are incredibly narrow-sighted, and this is part of what's going to close the piece that I'm going to put out today, is that I believe, and this is my opinion, I was not in the room when this decision was being made, his advisors have it's a black civil rights organization, and we need to de-racialize our politics from now through the end of the election cycle. So we want to stay as far away from black issues as we possibly can. Well, here's where they could have really been smart. The president came out and supported gay marriage. The president also supported Don't Ask, Don't Tell. The civil rights movement for gay and lesbians was built on the back of the NAACP. It was built on the back of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Our struggle. The president signed, one of the first pieces of legislation that the president signed was the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. The movement for women's fair pay was built on the back of the NAACP, 1964 Civil Rights Act. It was based on our struggle. The president came out with an executive order and supported the DREAM Act, providing college education and making it much more difficult to deport children of illegal immigrants. The Hispanic struggle for civil rights and civil liberties, the anti-immigration discussion, is built on the back of the NAACP and the civil rights movement. So the president should have gone into that forum, and he should have stood before the country and said, I am here at the NAACP 103rd convention because this organization has been the basis of civil rights for everyone in this country. And he could have listed each of those things that I just ticked off. And he would have galvanized, by giving a speech like that, he would have galvanized into his base the gay and lesbian movement, the Hispanic movement, the women's movement. And so a lot of independents who would have looked at that would have said, that was a pretty bold stroke. But see, by their being focused on race, they're mired in its middle. They can't get out of their own way because they're stuck on stupid.
So stuck on stupid, you mean Obama's advisors are stuck on stupid?
And the president is by listening to him.
Wow. Well,
And also, don't forget, Ben Jealous gave the president cover. When the president came out in support of gay marriage, it was Ben Jealous on behalf of the NAACP that came out and supported the president when that was one of the few instances yesterday that Mitt Romney got applause on, was when he talked about his opposition to gay marriage. The people in the room stood up and applauded it. Ben Jealous went against the interest of his own group, of his own organization, and supported the president on that. And what does the president do to Ben Jealous? Doesn't show up at the convention. Sends Eric Holder and sends
Joe Biden.
President. Come on, bro. Come on.
Well, I think that you're right about that. I mean, I think that's the consistent theme in the relationship between the White House and the black community. It is, we need you and we want you to show up for us, but we may or may not show up for you. And we're typically going to tell you that we're too busy serving other people who are more important than you. And we know that your collective self-esteem is so low that you're going to give us a pass. You know,
I'm glad you said that because I've seen the president's schedule for this week. His behind is here in D.C. He's not in Pakistan. He's not in Siberia. He's not in Syria. He's not even in Wisconsin. He's sitting at the White House. He's sitting at the White House. He could have gotten on Air Force One, flown to Houston. He could have done what Joe Biden's doing. Joe Biden got on Air Force Two, I guess, and flew to Houston, given a speech, and had it all back. Oh boy, man is sitting at the White House shooting baskets.
Well, you know what? One thing that's also very interesting is that, you know, when you see the speeches, the nature of the speech that Eric Holder gave. The headline, anyway, and the primary focus of the speech was on the voter ID laws and how the voter ID law is, using this imagery from Jim Crow to get black folks inspired to fight the voter ID laws so that they can show up to vote for, well, guess who? The Obama administration. And it's very interesting to me because it's sort of like, you know, you'll see these Obama officials show up to give speeches that will support black issues that support themselves, right? Like, I'm going to help you so that you can get out, so you can vote to keep me in power. But when it comes to me helping you do something that matters to you, then I'm too busy to do that. You know, in a way, it's almost like a husband who gets his wife a new broom for her birthday or a new vacuum cleaner. You know, it says, honey, I love you because I'm going to make it easy for you to vacuum the floor so I can have a clean house. But when she says that I want something for me, the husband says, well, baby, we don't have that in the budget. You know, and so it's kind of interesting when you see this self-interest among politicians that's sort of going in this back and forth dialogue between the Obama administration and the black community. And I'll say this, I'll go as far as saying that one of the great political crimes of this century has been what's going on the last 3 years in the Obama presidency. It's not to say that we didn't benefit from having a black president, but when you compare what we received to what we could have, would have, should have gotten, there's no comparison at all. It's absolutely shameful, and I think that it's our fault as much as the White House's fault.
Well, it's more our fault than it is the White House's fault. And let me give you a different analogy. It's more akin to a husband having the wife fill up the car so that the husband can go out and visit his other girlfriends. That's the analogy. Baby, go put some gas in the car and be sure it's premium, because I got to go out here and hang out with my other honeys. I got to go out here and hang out with the gay and lesbian community. I got to go out here and hang out with the Hispanic community. I got to go out here and be sure that people at AIPAC are happy with me. I got to be damn sure that AIPAC is happy with me. But the NAACP, I got them. So no need for me to be sure that they're happy, because they're happy just because I'm here. So wow. Baby, I don't even have to kiss you goodbye. You're just happy I'm in the house.
Wow.
And see, the real problem for me is not so much that the president didn't show up to the NAACP, as much as a problem as that is. The problem for me is Vangelis hasn't said a word.
Wow. Well, excellent analysis as usual, Dr. Leon. I think you've given us a lot to think about, and I think that it's important for people to understand that you don't hate Obama, you don't love Obama. You are just a person who analyzes politics from an objective standpoint. You're an expert on politics. You taught a class on the presidency, and the reason I go to you is because, in my mind, you are the national go-to guy when it comes to understanding what Black America should and should not legitimately expect from this president. So I just appreciate the fact that you're taking this time to talk to us. Thank you very much.
Well, I want your audience to clearly understand I'm not a political operative. I'm a political scientist. And this has absolutely nothing to do with personalities or individuals. It has everything to do with policy. That's all this is about. So anyone who wants to challenge my analysis, I welcome the challenge. But please tell me where I'm mistaken from the policy perspective. Let's not talk about I'm attacking the president. I am not attacking the president. I'm looking at what the president is doing.
Right.
And just, to your point about how much we have benefited. Yes, we have benefited. But because I've had people call on my show and say, well, the president helped veterans and there are black veterans. The president helped gay and lesbians and there are black gay and lesbians. That's true and that's fantastic. But that's different than it's one thing to be the indirect beneficiary of policy. It's another thing to be the focus of policy.
Exactly. I mean, because, he could do something for African Americans and then turn to the gay community and say, hey, I'm helping gay people. There are plenty of black gay people out here. So, but they wouldn't go for that. They'd say, no, we need something that's specifically for us. So I think that African Americans have the right to make the same demands. What was really funny was I went to Eastern Europe this week with the National Professionals Network, and and the trade-off, the way I had to earn my right to get on the boat was I was going to debate Michael Eric Dyson on the Obama presidency. And that Dyson has shown full support for the president. He's actually, I think, working, as a surrogate for the president, which I wouldn't do that myself, and I love Mike and I respect him immensely. But here was the thing. What was interesting was, and Mike couldn't make it. Mike was doing the MSNBC thing, but I was debating a judge on the ship, and it was really funny because I said, look, the president made a very bold, very aggressive stance aggressive stand on gay marriage. He made a very bold, very aggressive stand on the rights of Hispanics, on the DREAM Act. He's made very bold and very aggressive stands on women's rights. You can't name a single time where he's made an equally bold, equally aggressive stand on behalf of African Americans. And do you know what the example was? The example was that was given to me to show me where the president has really stood up for black folks and really done something for black people.
Probably was funding for HBCUs.
No.
The what? Oh, the black farmers. Okay.
The black farmers settlement. So I immediately returned back to the woman who made the comment. I said, okay, how many of you in this room are farmers?
Oh, black farmers.
Right. And you didn't hear a cricket chirp in that room. And I said, exactly. But if I were in a room full of gays.
There weren't any farmers.
Right.
There weren't any farmers in the room, so there would be no crickets.
Right, there you go. So my argument was that if I said the same thing in a room full of gay people, if I said, how many of you in this room think you might want to get married, at least half of the hands would have gone up. If I asked a room full of Hispanics, how many of you have relatives who are undocumented, or friends who are undocumented, or you yourselves are undocumented, a lot of hands would go up, assuming that people were okay even answering that question, right? But for African Americans, for some reason, we don't believe that we have the same rights to have the same support that other groups have, and that's just really disturbing to me. So, I'm glad that you're making these points, man. I think that they're very important points to be made.
Well, I'm going to make another point that I think may infuriate some people, but it's something that needs to be considered. As white Christians during slavery brought Christianity, the concept of Christianity, or European Christianity, to Africans in America, one of the things that was embedded in the mindset was suffer now for your payoff later. Or by. And that Christian ethic that has been embedded in the mindset of many Americans is what has enabled too many in the community to be convinced, be patient, be quiet. Yours will come by and by. So it was one thing to have an African American president, but we were told constantly, don't make noise now. Yours will wait till the second term. Yours will come in the second. Oh, boy, when he gets reelected, he's going to go buck wild. He's going to grow an afro. He's going to put on a dashiki and going to have an afro pick sticking out the back. Right on. I mean, all of that. But what if there is no second term? Tell AIPAC to wait on the policy on the American foreign policy that they're looking for in terms of supporting Israel at the expense of the Palestinians. Tell AIPAC to wait. Tell the gay and lesbian community, you want gay marriage? We'll deal with that in second term. Be patient. Right. Be quiet. Be humble.
Right. And
be happy out here.
Well, I think those are very important points. And I think that you're absolutely correct. I think that the goal at the end of the day is not to get people to stop supporting Obama or to start supporting Obama.
No.
The goal is to get people to think critically about their political decisions. And I think that if we're right, exactly. And if we are somehow committing a crime by encouraging black people to think independently, then I say give us both the death penalty, because we're scholars, so-called intellectual leaders, and it's our job to encourage people to think and to do so in a way that is not in the gist of a political operative, which so many of our black leaders have become during the age of Obama. So thank you very much, Dr. Leon. I really appreciate your time.
You got it.
All right. And everybody, this is Dr. Wilmer Leon. I want to apologize for the low video quality. As you know, we don't operate on a big MSNBC budget, but we give you substance over flash. And also, Dr. Leon, in case you want to follow him, which I recommend you do, his show is called Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon. It comes on Saturdays on Sirius XM channel 128, The Power. Saturdays from 11 to 2. And also his Facebook page is facebook.com/Dr. Leon's Prescription. So make sure you check that out. And thank you all for hanging out with us today. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.